Russian asylum seekers stopped at U.S. border as Ukrainians waved through. About 36 would-be asylum seekers from Russia found themselves blocked from entering the U.S., while a group of Ukrainians flashed passports and were escorted across the border. The scene reflected a quiet but unmistakable shift in the differing treatment of Russians and Ukrainians who enter Mexico as tourists and fly to Tijuana, hoping to enter the U.S. for a chance at asylum. The Russians, 34 as of Friday local time, had been camped for several days at the busiest U.S. border crossing with Mexico, 2 days after city of Tijuana officials gently urged them to leave. Jorge Juenes. Days earlier, some Russians were being admitted to the U.S. at the San Isidro crossing, while some Ukrainians were blocked. But by Friday, Russians were denied while Ukrainians were admitted after short waits. "It's very hard to understand how they make decisions," said Irina Zelenka, a 40-year-old Russian woman who camped overnight with her family of 7 after arriving in Tijuana on Thursday. Irina Zolkina, who is seeking asylum in the United States, cries as she recalls her trip from Russia to the Mexican border. Erika Pinheiro, litigation and policy director for advocacy group Al Otro Lado, said the U.S. began admitting all Ukrainians on humanitarian parole for 1 year around Tuesday, while at the same time blocking all Russians. There was no official announcement. A Homeland Security Department memo dated March 11th, but not publicly released until Thursday, told border officials that Ukrainians may be exempt from sweeping asylum limits designed to prevent the spread of COVID-19. It says decisions are to be made case by case for Ukrainians, but makes no mention of Russians. The Department of Homeland Security recognizes that the unjustified Russian war of aggression in Ukraine has created a humanitarian crisis, the memo states. Families mostly from Russia camp out near the San Isidro port of entry into the United States, as a stream of pedestrian border crossers file past them. Homeland Security indicated in a statement on Friday that anyone deemed particularly vulnerable may be admitted for humanitarian reasons on a case-by-case review, regardless of nationality. Russian migrants in Tijuana sat off to the side of a line of hundreds of border residents waiting to walk across the border to San Diego on Friday. The line was unimpeded. A 32-year-old Russian migrant, who had not left the border crossing since arriving in Tijuana with his wife about 5 days earlier, had no plans to leave, fearing he may miss any sudden opportunity. Within hours of arriving, the migrant, who identified himself only as Mark because he feared for his family's safety in Russia, saw 3 Russian migrants admitted to the United States. A Russian and a Ukrainian embrace each other as Russians wait for a humanitarian visa. After 6 hours, U.S. authorities returned his passport and said only Ukrainians were being admitted. Ukrainians and Russians are suffering because of one man, Mark said, referring to Russian President Vladimir Putin. He fled shortly after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Even before Russia's invasion, the United States was seeing an increase in Russian and Ukrainian asylum seekers, most trying to enter at official crossings in San Diego rather than trying to cross illegally in deserts and mountains. More than 1,500 Ukrainians entered the U.S. on the Mexican border from September through February, according to U.S. Customs and Border Protection. About 35 times the 45 Ukrainians who crossed during the same period a year earlier. Ukrainians who can reach U.S. soil are virtually guaranteed a shot at asylum. Only 4 of the 1,553 who entered in the September-February period were barred under a public health order aimed at preventing the spread of COVID-19. The number of Russian asylum seekers entering at U.S. land crossings from Mexico surpassed 8,600 from September through February, about 30 times the 288 the same time a year earlier. All but 23 were processed under laws that allow them to seek asylum. Mexican officials have been wary of migrants sleeping at the border. Last month they dismantled a large migrant camp in Tijuana with tents and tarps that blocked a walkway to San Diego. Eager to stop another camp from forming, the city distributed a letter on Wednesday asking migrants to leave their campsites for health and safety reasons and offered free shelter, if they couldn't afford a hotel.